Hello, welcome to the EHRA Studio by ESC TV here at the EHRA Congress 2026. My name is David Duncker, I'm from Hanover, Germany, and I'm here today together with Jack Singh from Boston, USA, and Jose Millet from Valencia in Spain. And we will discuss the EHRA Innovation Forum session that we will see here at the Congress. And for this year, we decided at EHRA for the first time to have something new. The Innovation Forum usually showed us new technologies and new findings for our clinical practice, but the Innovation Forum for this year will be focused on AI and digital medicine to really emphasize this important and growing topic. And I'm happy to discuss this with you both. Welcome, Jose and Jack.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Now, maybe, Jack, my first question is, innovation is a very strong word, but if we talk about innovation in this field of AI for us as EPs, what does this mean, and what do we need to do when evaluating innovation?
Yeah, so I think that's a really important question because people come at innovation from very many different directions. I think the most important thing is to really see, is there an unmet need that the innovation is trying to solve? What happens is oftentimes people will develop a widget and then they'll search for a need for it. So establishing an unmet need that will eventually integrate with conventional workflows that will translate into better clinical outcomes, I would say, are the seminal components of what innovation should really look like.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to start, and then you need a good idea. What, Jose, what differentiates a good idea from a really impactful idea? What would you say?
This is very important because, you know, many excellent ideas never have impact, and maybe a normal idea, if you make a good implementation, they could be a good impact. So the most important is to have a good idea, but you have to think if this idea can solve patient problems, and then to make a methodological process to give this idea to something real that they can work in the clinical practice. For that, you have lean manufacturing, you have technology, but the technology is a lot of technology. No. The technology, the best technology for this problem, not the best technology or the emergent technology, the best technology for this, to solve this problem.
So we obviously have some problems and unmet needs, and this is where we start from. What would you say? Because this is a session where we had applicants with some ideas and some developing tools. At what stage should you go to a stage like EHRA with your idea and present it? Because usually you sometimes have a very early stage and a very good idea and you didn't prove it, and if you try to prove it until the end, you lose a lot of time, or not lose, but you need a lot of time, and you could be passed by others with different ideas and different approaches. What would you say, Jack?
So no, that's a good question. I think some of the answer is within the question itself. I think ideas come in different stages. They can be really early and just conceptual, or there could be an idea that really meets a need and has a prototype but has not been validated. Subsequently, you might have ideas that are seeking validation. And I think your approach to each of these forms of startups is very different. And they all start with a concept. They all land up developing a prototype. That prototype eventually lands up becoming validated, that becomes a part of the workflow, and that then translates into clinical outcomes. So, you know, there are a range of ideas, and they come at different stages.
Mm-hmm. Do you have an advice for them?
And related to this, there is also a metric in the startup language that is, it's called TRL. It's Technology Readiness Level. It's from 1 to 9. 1 is when you have an idea, just in your mind, or maybe you write in some paper. And 9 is when you are really in the market. Mm-hmm. So it depends on the level you are. You need some help in some way or another. And imagine that, for example, when you say that's very important, validate it, because you think that, yeah, research, you're that, but when you go, you try to go to the market, is different rules, yeah? So it's important to validate it, but it's not the same to validate it in a laboratory that you validate it in an environment close to the market. This is the way who you improve and how you can detect it some problems that you can to solve before to go to the market.
Yeah, and they come in different stages. Sometimes they have a validated idea. Now they need to validate it in a different population, or they're looking for strategic alliances with different companies. So interaction with innovation can occur at many stages.
Now let's talk about AI. As I said, EHRA wanted to really put a strong stamp on this is a growing field, and we see a lot of innovation here, and obviously it came to the EHRA Congress. Now, what is the role of AI in our EP community at the moment? How would you perceive it? Everybody talks about it, but some people use it, but did it already change our practice? What do we really need for an innovative step to reach the next level, let's say, Jack? I feel like we need to have one step further.
Yeah, no, I think that's a loaded question, because AI can be really described in many ways, right? It could be something as simple as AI ECG, which is a predictive analytic form, using deep learning strategies, or it can be something as complex as using large language models to help with clinical workflow pathways to really create agentic solutions for different disease states. So AI comes in broad spectrum. So if I were to say from the EP perspective, the two areas that are really exciting from the AI end of things, I think one is the devices that we have implanted are becoming diagnosticians. They are being incorporated with software and intelligence that allows them now to track sensor signals longitudinally and contextualize it within a patient's clinical trajectory, giving you added intelligence of how to manage that patient. That's one. And the second one, without kind of speaking for too long, is the whole concept of digital twins, and really integrating biological intelligence with digital intelligence, and really using that in a simulated environment so you can manage patients in an individualized way. So I think the two exciting areas are specifically those.
They're very important, and maybe Jose, you can give us the bioengineer perspective on that. This is so important because this is a field where we need to connect these two perspectives so much.
Sure. I think we can say that there are two disruptive things. One is the generative AI, that is spot, and many people now are using AI. Just 5 years ago, maybe 10% of the population was using AI. Now it's every people. I think so. And the other thing is the cloud, because now everything is working in the cloud. Everything is improving in the cloud. Before, you have a program in your laptop, or you have a program in that, and this is the limitation. Now everything is in the cloud, and this is the way to learn for many places, many data, and many things. So now it's a different kind. Every tool is working mainly in the cloud, and this is improving in the cloud. So this is very important for the developing of the products based on AI. But be careful, because when you're talking about IP, we are talking about medicine in general, we have to be present that regulations. Any product, any things have to be some kind of regulation and some kind of also validation. So innovation can go first quickly, but validation takes time. So you have to make an hybrid in that. And it's, of course, not the same. You develop a wearable, that you develop a genetic therapy, or you develop a intracardial catheter, and all these things. So it's important to be good.
And validation is something that we made one of the most important quality indicators for research and for our clinical daily life, right? The validation also will cost us some more effort, because we will not be able to make a randomized study on every digital tool that we will see in the next years. What is your solution to that?
So I think, that's an important question. I think the data sets that are used for generating any AI algorithm really have to be heterogeneous and represent the patient population that they're going to be tested in. And then you validate it across that spectrum. And I think creating, as Jose knows this much better than I do, that you have to create the right foundational models. Mm-hmm. They have to be large, they have to be representative, and then you can tweak them within the populations that you need to use them in. But so that the validation rigor then is not that intense if you have the right foundational models to start with. So it's a process, but I think validation is a key part of ensuring that it's working in the right population.
I think it's crucial, because in artificial intelligence we talk about what we talk ground truth. Mm-hmm. Ground truth is that you have the data sheet, but most important that the data is correctly typifying. I mean, this signal, these things is a normal case, this is an arrhythmia, this is other thing. You need a very good identification. If you have this data set, good work with this, you can apply different algorithms. The algorithm is changing every day. Now, the top is transformers. Yeah,
for sure.
But maybe in half a year will be another. Yeah, so you need a very good data set, good identified, this is the ground truth, and then you have to select it, which algorithm is better for this, solve this problem, and also the environment where this product have developed. It's not the same that you something for anybody, that it's something that has in a AP lab, for example. So it's different environments.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we also have limitations and still problems to solve in this field, and quality standards to take care of, right? What would you say, Jack, what is the most important limitation or the most important point that we need to take care of?
So I think there are some, clear barriers to adoption, especially for any clinical tool, especially, innovative tool. One is the validation part. The second most important part is that it has to be a part of the workflow. If it doesn't fit into the workflow, mm-hmm. it is never going to get adopted. Thirdly, I would say it really has to translate into better clinical outcomes. And so those are three things that I think really, that it has to serve an unmet need, has to translate into clinical outcomes, and has to be integrated into the workflow. I would look at those, and I would advise any startup company that that's what they need to focus in on initially. And then, obviously, one has to create the right incentives to ensure that it gets deployed and used, but that's another story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I can add something in this is, the most important thing at the beginning is empathize. But if your product is for the patient or is for the doctor, you have to think like them. You have to talk with them and try to identify what they need.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
After that, you have to make a methodology to develop this. And very important, ask for help. If you are in a TRL4, maybe you have to ask for a lawyer to have something, or you have to ask an expert in an AI or something like that to help in the process. Don't try to do all the things by yourself, because it's quite hard. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we are at the end of this episode. Jack and Jose, thank you very much for joining the discussion. We saw innovation is there, and it's here at the EHRA Congress, but we also need to take care how we will end up with these innovation, work on really the process and improve our clinical practice. This is the most important for the benefit for our patients. So thank you very much for joining this episode at the EHRA Studio by ESC TV here at the EHRA Congress, and see you next time.